Hi, this is Rich Peerage from the Education Unit. I'm here today with Cyrus Napolitano from the Education Unit. He just went to Australia. The guy is now a world traveling member. So what were you doing in Australia?
Well, Alan Doyle asked me to participate in two different conferences that were taking place in Australia. The first one was the International Training Base Conference that was being held at the Stepping Stone Clubhouse in Brisbane, Australia. And we started our day first with a barbecue. I think we had some kangaroo stuff and other kind of animals, but no koalas. It looked
How long was
disgusting.
the flight? Tell us
The
that.
flight was from New York's JFK to LAX, was 6 hours. The flight from LAX to Brisbane was 14 hours.
14 hours.
So I think my travel time from beginning to end when I left the apartment to the apartment I was staying to in Brisbane was 28 hours.
28 hours.
28 hours
Okay.
total, so it was a long trip, but I did get some sleep in with some Seroquel.
So tell me something about the conference.
Well, the conference was pretty interesting because we had a bunch of clubhouses from Australia and New Zealand and the States participating, and there were about 20 of us. Unfortunately, the people that were supposed to come from South Korea and Hong Kong didn't come. I don't know why. But we did miss them, but it was very interesting because we talked about possibly revising and updating some of the standards, which I don't remember which ones they are, 'cause that was a very lengthy conversation. And then we just talked about other things pertaining to training bases. We have 10 training bases that are ICCD certified around the world, and Stepping Stone Clubhouse is one of them, as well as Fountain House here in New York.
You said there was a costume thing that went on, you were telling me?
Well, that happened during the second conference. So when the first conference was over in Brisbane, we drove about 2 hours northwest from Brisbane to a small city called Toowoomba, and I got one of the Toowoomba shirts here.
It was a beautiful countryside.
It's beautiful countryside. The only problem is they're currently experiencing a very terrible drought after the massive tsunami floods they had in 2010, 2011. And they were showing us video and pictures where the water is at least 3 to 4 feet high.
Jeez.
And this is in the hills.
Wow.
So on that conference was 2.5 days
Okay.
long, and that was the 10th annual Australasian Regional Conference. And we had participants, we had 180 people signed up for each of the days at the conference, and we had people from all over come. We had people from, again, Australia, New Zealand. There are about 10 clubhouses in Australia, I think, now. The US, Fountain House was there, and St. Louis, the Independence Clubhouse. And we had, again, people from Helsinki Clubhouse in Finland. We had a group from Indonesia come by
Really?
who were interested in setting up a clubhouse or two in Aceh province, which is where the tsunami took place, an earthquake. I think it was back in 2004, 2005. And they're finding that a lot of the people, the survivors, are having lots of problems dealing with the aftermath of that catastrophic
In Indonesia.
So what's interesting is there were about 10 people from Indonesia. They all didn't know each other, but Indonesia's strange because they have lots and lots of ministries. So they have the Ministry of Social Health, they have a Ministry of Mental Health, and they're trying to figure out how to coordinate all their activities to provide better services to people in Indonesia. And some of the stories that Dr. Adia told us about the way people with mental illness are treated in that country is rather horrific. So,
Really?
yeah. Well, the last night of the conference, they decided to throw a party called the Flower Power Party Gala. And it was all going to be 60s, 70s music. And they wanted people to dress in costume. And I figured, no, who's going to dress in costume? Almost everybody at the conference was dressed in costume. So there were tie-dye bandanas and shirts, the long, like very hippie styles. Grateful Dead. I mean, everybody, most of the people, a lot of the people, went through the 60s and 70s when they were about their 20s and 30s. So they're a little older now. And they really got up on the dance floor. They were really shaking it. And the Indonesian women with their headscarves also got up on the dance floor.
Really?
And I was showing them some of my moves. And they were actually copying everything I did.
Oh, that's great.
So, well, after the two conferences were over, we took the bus back to Brisbane, and people were going either to the airport, some people were going to the Great Barrier Reef, which is about 1,200 miles long, all on the northeast part of Australia. And I decided to go on a tour to Martin Island, which is a ferry ride, takes about an hour and a half to get to, and it's the second largest sand structure in the world. So it has the highest dunes called Mount Tempest, I think is several hundred feet high.
And you went body surfing?
No, I went to
surfing.
sand tobogganing.
Sand tobogganing.
So we got to the top of the dune and I was huffing and puffing because I'm really out of shape. So I got a little footage of that at the top, and it's only maybe 6 feet wide at the top, and you have everybody kind of sitting there or standing with their boards, waxing them and everything. So it was my turn to go, and Nathan, who was one of our tour guides, said, "Are you ready to do it?" And I said, "Yeah." So we got the board down on the sand, and he showed me to put my knees in back of the board, to lay down on my stomach, and you have to hold the front of the board like this because it curves up like a regular snowboard. But you have to hold your elbows out like this, like you're a chicken wing. And he said, "You ready?" And he said, "Yeah." And I went down that dune, and I was like, "Woo!" all the way down. And it was so much fun, you know.
That's great.
You know, it was so much. And then I'm at the bottom of the dune, and I went, "Oh, I gotta climb back up it again." So it took me about 20 minutes to get back up the dune, which I was really out of breath by the time I got up there.
Well, it sounds like you had a great time.
I did, and you know, Australia is a beautiful country. The people are great, they're fantastic, they're very warm and friendly. When I got to Stepping Stone, I was ready to get into the work order day. And then, you know, I had to come back to New York, but you know, I had $3 left in my pocket, so I had to go home, because I had no more money.
There you go. All right, well, this was Cyrus from Australia, world traveling member. So long, everybody.
See ya, bye.